All right. I'm with Bob Moriarty, founder and editor of 321gold.com. Bob, how are you today?
Well, I was doing really good until I took a look at the price of silver.
Yeah, it hit 48 at 9 a.m. Eastern, and now we're dropping 3 or 4%. It must be the end of the world.
I think so. I think that's exactly what it is.
All right, so let's start with the market, Bob, because I definitely want to talk about some other topics that I know are going to be controversial among the viewers of this, including those who don't particularly care for me, but they'll just have to suffer through it. So the psychology of a bull market. Look, we're both experienced silver and gold investors. You more than me. You lived through the late 70s and January 1980, the Hunt brothers cornering the silver market and then getting margin called. We also lived through 2011. That was an incredible silver rally. 2020 was okay, but nothing, nothing to write home about. And now today,
silver went from $12 to 30.
Okay, that's not bad, but come on, we talking about real moves like 8 to 50, June to January 1979, 1980. Those are the kind of moves I want to talk about. So how does this market, what we're seeing in silver today, how does it stack up against the prior bull markets?
Strange enough, really good question. It's obviously a bull market. It's been roaring for gold and silver and platinum. But the market is different this time. And I hate that phrase, this time it's different. But we're seeing a rise in real assets and a rush away from fiat currencies and paper assets. So I think the significance of this market is far higher than 79 and 80 and 2004 to 2011 and 2015 and 2020. This has different characteristics, but today's move, and I'm actually glad we're doing this interview today. All of these people who waited to get into silver until it was $48 an ounce are getting their assets handed to them right now. No market goes up every day after day after day after day. And the more they do that, the bigger the correction will be. So a good correction in gold and a good correction at silver and platinum would be good for investors in general. But as we were talking about, the DSI has not signaled a top, and it's just a correction, and it occurs in every market. The real danger is in the general stock market. And when it goes, it's going to fall off the cliff.
Yeah, so going back to silver, because I think that's quite topical. I mean, we just hit 48 this morning. 48 is a very big number. There's not been many times in history that silver has traded at or above $48 an ounce. But if we think back to 2011 and also January 1980, I mean, this metal is capable of some breathtaking moves. I mean, in January 1980, silver went from $32 an ounce to $50 an ounce in 3 weeks. In April 2011, it went from, I think it was like 35 or 36 to 49.75 in a matter of weeks. So it's capable of these moves, but it's also capable of some pretty spectacular drops. And so I think investors have to be aware that, look, silver's a volatile metal, and the higher it gets, the bigger the shakeouts are. If this is the start of a pullback, Bob, something bigger, like more than one trading session, how far might it go to the downside?
I can't predict that. Now, what I can do is point out history. Silver hit $50.25 at the open on January 21st, 1980. And I was in the market then. In the next 5 years, it dropped 90%. But lots of markets dropped 90%. If you use the Dow in September of 1929 until July of 1932, it dropped 89%. So a 90% drop is not unusual at all. However, this is clearly a correction. It is not the top of the market. If you go back to April 27th of 2011, the DSI for silver hit 96. And the DSI for silver in January 21st, 1980 was only 95. The DSI as of yesterday was only 80. So we have not seen the high. We're going to see a correction, whether correction $1, $2, $5, $10 would be absolutely meaningless to me. I would look at the correction as an opportunity to pick up some cheap silver.
Yeah, I agree. This is not characteristic of the top, but silver could drop to 40 in the next couple of weeks, and it would probably be really healthy in the long term. I mean, I think if silver went straight above 50 in a straight line, that would be more concerning than a near-term pullback to reset the sentiment and scare some folks out of the market. I do want to turn to the junior mining sector. The last time we spoke, you were talking about Rackla metals. I'm wondering what the update is on Rackla. Do you still own it? Are you still bullish on it?
I am incredibly bullish on it because I've been to the Yukon, I've been to Alaska, and the miners there look for bismuth, not gold. Rackla is one of the most incredible stories that I've ever seen. And even with the market down substantially today, Rackla is still up 10% on the day. So there was a washout from $1 a share down to about 64 cents a share. And we've made it through that, and the weekends have deserted. And they're still waiting for assay results. The labs are jammed up, and it's taking far longer to get assays than it should, but it's something investors have to put up with. You have no control of it whatsoever.
Okay. And then a broader question. So let's talk to that rare individual who might be tuning in to you and I for the first time ever and might be pretty new to gold and silver, but have been tuned into it now and decided to allocate a percentage of their investment capital to physical and maybe some miners as well. How would you recommend that they get involved in the sector? Should they buy it all in one day, or should they put in a little bit at a time over several weeks or several months?
It depends on what their objective is. If their objective is profit, they should be investing in the juniors. If their intent is insurance, they should buy silver or platinum because they're relatively cheaper than gold and sit up, not worry. Now, I asked kind of a trick question. Have you got insurance on your car?
Yeah, I have to.
Do you want to collect?
No, I'd rather not.
Well, no, strange enough, that's a question that people say, well, yeah, I can accept gold and silver as insurance, but I want to make as much money as possible. That's like saying I want to make as much money on the insurance policy on my car or my house. No, you don't. Okay. The purpose of insurance is to protect you. if you want to invest at a profit, there are some juniors that are extraordinary. You have done a great job of covering a number of them. And even though they may correct, Rackla was down 36% in 2 weeks and nothing changed whatsoever. If you saw that kind of opportunity, here's your opportunity to retire. There are juniors that are going to shoot higher than people can imagine. Did you follow Prospector yesterday?
I watched it, and I own a little bit now.
Did you buy it yesterday?
Yeah.
Well, it got up to $1.60 today.
Right.
It was 30 cents 2 days ago.
Yeah.
And you're going to see moves like that in these. Now, granted, it had extraordinary drill results, but you're going to see a lot of 500,000% returns. But even Rackla's up 10% on the day. A lot of investors would be thrilled to make 10% in a year.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think it's important for the viewer to understand the volatility of these stocks, right? So like Prospector was what, a 5x in less than 48 hours, but that's extraordinary because they had a new discovery to announce to the market. But those moves are possible, and so are 10x moves in a matter of days or weeks in the sector, but also there's downside possible, right? So these stocks can pull back 30, 40, 50% in a very short period of time. So you have to be aware of the volatility and don't be surprised by it, because as soon as you think it can only keep going higher, these stocks can drop 50%. Been there, done that many times.
Yeah, you raised a good point. You give me an opportunity to make a really important point. I have written financial books and said in the books, you should buy things when they're cheap for no other reason other than they're cheap, and you should sell them when they're expensive. And I absolutely stand by that. And if you look at it from that perspective, you could see that a correction is a really wonderful opportunity. Okay, now nothing has changed about the drill results that Prospector announced yesterday, but the stock's gone from $1.60 today to $1.25. Okay, so it's at 35-cent drop in 1 day. It's over 20%. If you will buy quality when it's cheap and sell it when it's dear, you will make money. And quite bluntly, I own Prospector shares that I've held for years, and I put an order in to sell today.
Oh, okay. So you're part of the smart money taking profits. I see, Bob. Okay, I see your game.
Yeah. Well,
yeah.
here's the deal. Another good point that you just give me a chance to throw out there. You invest for one or two reasons. You either invest to make a profit or you invest to stroke your ego. If you invest to make a profit, when you got a profit, you have to sell. And that's what everybody forgets. You don't sell at a profit. The only other alternative is to sell at a loss.
Okay, but let's delve a little deeper in that. I might have, let's just say hypothetically, I bought Prospector at 29 cents. It went to 30 cents. I have a profit. But that's not a real profit. I mean, that's not why I invested. I invested for it to go to $1, right? And so I want to wait for it to go to $1. When it goes to $1 or $1.20, yeah, I have to sell, right?
Bingo. And people did. And the volume was absolutely extraordinary yesterday. That stock was a wonderful, wonderful opportunity. For those who were smart enough to be buying it when it was cheap, they had this incredible opportunity to make money. But when a stock goes from 30 cents to $1.60 in 2 days, that's unbelievable. And you're going to see more of it. And there are so many great juniors out there right now. Frankly, even though I believe the juniors will correct, the juniors are cheaper in relative terms to the price of gold and silver than they have ever been.
Yeah. So let's make it clear to the audience that with all the financings that have happened in September, some of these enormous moves, a pullback, at least 2 or 3 days of pretty stiff drops is kind of par for the course here, and it could even last for a few weeks, quite frankly. I think we have to be psychologically and financially prepared for that to happen at this point. But bigger picture, especially when we're 3 or 4 days deep into a sector-wide pullback, that's the time that you want to actually be picking away and taking advantage of this, because more than likely, I think we will see higher prices later in the year.
I totally agree. Every word.
Okay, so let's move from precious metals and junior mining to the macro. And actually, specifically, a specific event that you and I were emailing about, and that is the murder. I don't know, we can call it assassination, but it's a murder of Charlie Kirk that happened on September 10th. So this is only 3 weeks old. This is a bizarre event, Bob. It's very strange, like many things. And I'm an expert on the JFK assassination at this point after studying it for the last year. And this reminds me of the JFK assassination. It's just a modern version of it.
One big difference.
Okay.
How long did it take for all the information about JFK to actually come out?
Oh, it took years.
It took years. Okay. I saw JFK the night before he was assassinated. He flew into Carswell Air Force Base in Fort Worth. He drove from Carswell into downtown. I stood on an overpass and watched his convoy pass. Okay, that was the night before he was killed. I was a junior in high school. And it's taken years and years and years for the evidence to come out. Now, let me ask a trick question. I love my trick questions. Let's pretend the accurate number of people at the Charlie Kirk event, let's say there were 4,000 people. How many video cameras were taking pictures?
I don't know, 10%? So 400?
Hundreds.
Yeah, hundreds. Yeah.
Here's what's amazing. You can go to Rents, okay, and you could see about 15 different videos of what appears to be, and what Rents says is the actual assassin using a palm pistol from about 15 feet away. I'm going to say this 22-year-old kid that supposedly shot Charlie Kirk with a 30-06, there isn't a chance in hell that that's what happened. Kirk was hit in the neck. He was dead before he hit the ground because he just bled out. He was hit in the carotid artery. But that wasn't 30-06. And there's so many spooky things about that. Not the funeral, because he didn't hold a funeral. The memorial service looked more like a cheerleaders conference.
Yeah, it was like a football game. Yeah, it was like a football game.
Exactly. His wife, I have lost a loved one, and I cried for a week. She doesn't appear to be bothered by very much. And there's so many anomalies. The security service was provided by his Zionist backers. And quite bluntly, there's one country in the world that seems to have some kind of franchise on assassinations. The connections between Israel and assassination, there are dozens of them. And I don't believe for a minute that Tyler, what's his name, killed him. I don't believe he was shot by a 30-06. I think he was shot by his own security people.
Yeah. Well, okay. So before we talk about who might have been the culprit, let's just talk about some of the details here. So 30-06. So the FBI, the state police are basically saying it was a 30-06, a bolt action 30-06, his grandfather's rifle. So a 30-06 is about as powerful of a hunting rifle as you can get. And from what I know about a 30-06, that bullet's going to go right through a neck, a brain, even if it hits bone, it's going to go through it, right?
Of course.
But there's no extra one.
I was in the Marine Corps for 6 years. I was in combat 20 months. I fired thousands of rounds through M1s and M14s. And it is absolutely impossible that he was hit in the neck and the bullet's still there. There is zero chance.
I don't understand how a 30-06 is going to hit somebody in the neck and not go straight through the neck and cause a catastrophic wound. I mean, the neck would be cut in half.
It would take a big chunk out. There's no question whatsoever. But everything about the investigation, frankly, stinks. I just don't see any way that the FBI sequence is accurate. And quite bluntly, Charlie Kirk was afraid of one person in the world, and it wasn't Tyler, what's his name?
Yeah. And then there's video of his, security team or people close to him taking the video cameras down, taking the files, the electronic files out from the scene. And there's also blood. Like, this is a fatal neck shot. So there should be blood everywhere. There should be gallons of blood. And there's a lot of people who helped carry him into the car that don't have blood on them. Like, it's...
Yeah, but here's the key there. You only bleed as long as the heart is pumping.
Okay.
When you have a blowout wound, like hitting a carotid artery, literally you're dead by the time you hit the ground. Okay. The blood flow to the brain just stopped completely. So there was no saving him. There was nothing anyone could have done, but you could have lifted him up. And if you weren't in the pool of 7 pints of blood, he wasn't going to be bleeding while he was on the way to the car. But some of the things that are crazy, he was afraid for his life. He was afraid of Netanyahu. He had pissed off all his Zionist backers. They had yelled at him. They had threatened. Netanyahu called him and offered him $150 million to shut up, and he wouldn't do it. And he was a prime candidate for the only thing that would be more dangerous than pissing off Netanyahu would be a friend of Hillary Clinton.
Well, okay, so there's not much more dangerous in the world than a man who won't take $150 million bribe, right? That's a pretty big deal.
Well, the Colombians have a phrase for it, and I'll see if I get it correct. I can't get it in Spanish correct, but it's silver or lead.
Yeah, right. So
you
he got the lead.
Silver, or we give you the lead.
Yeah, and they offered him the silver, and they gave him the lead.
Yep. And here's what's funny. There was a aircraft that took off that was owned by a big Zionist backer 12 minutes after he was shot, and they turned their transponder off.
Okay, hold on. Let's go back to the supposed perpetrator. Okay.
Okay.
So this, whatever, he's 21 or 22-year-old kid. They have video of him walking down a neighborhood street like he's got a really bad limp, but they're saying he had the rifle down his pant leg. But then they're saying he gets to the top, he assembles the rifle. So even though he's walking with a limp and the rifle's down his leg, it's not fully assembled at that point. He needs to assemble it. This also reminds me of the Oswald story where supposedly Oswald used a nickel to assemble the Italian rifle, which was a complete phony story. But anyway, then he takes the shot, perfect shot, 1-for-1 kill shot, like an army sniper, like he's in the Rangers. Then he leaves the scene. He's changing his outfit as he leaves the scene. And then hold on, he's got the rifle supposedly when he leaves, but then he runs, I don't know, a few hundred yards, throws it into the bushes. It's a bizarre story, Bob. It's a bizarre story.
Well, it's like the Butler shooting. There were people who came to visit him in the week or 2 weeks prior to the killing that had out-of-state plates and made everybody very nervous. The whole thing stinks so much that there's only one rational argument, and that argument is that it was a very efficiently done assassination, and we've got a really good idea of who was behind it. Now, there are two versions of how he was killed. One version, and I'm going to ignore Tyler, what's his name, because I'll just tell you flat, he didn't do it. There's no way in hell they're ever going to convict him. There's no evidence. It's a hokey story. But there was a guy in brown shirt that, according to Rents, and Rents has 10 or 15 videos, had some kind of palm pistol and fired it at him from 15 feet away and hit him in the neck. And you absolutely could do that with the palm pistol. And there's another version by Stu Peterson. Have you followed him?
No.
He says that the actual murder weapon was a microphone.
I heard that. Yeah.
Okay. A microphone attached to his shirt, and it fired a projectile.
Yeah.
Hit him in the neck.
And that makes more sense because that wouldn't have enough power to go through. Like that would just go far enough into the neck to kill him, but it wouldn't go all the way through the neck.
Yeah, but if it didn't go through the neck, there would be a bullet, and there's no bullet.
How is there no bullet?
Magic.
Hold on. So let's go back to the 30-06 story.
Yeah.
With JFK, they cooked up the magic bullet theory, which is a fairy tale that's more of a fairy tale than the Tooth Fairy.
Right.
But let's go back to the 30. So you're telling me 30-06, perfect kill shot from 130 yards away, and there's no bullet and there's no exit wound.
Well, yeah. But I'll go you one better. And I actually set a record at the rifle range as a recruit. I have done a lot of serious shooting. When you fire a gun, it makes a bang.
Yeah.
And there was no bang. Okay. A 30-06, when it gets fired, you hear it. And there was a firecracker, but no more than that. I did not hear a 30-06 round go off, and there were hundreds of people taking videos at the time. The whole thing is so spooky that I came out immediately before they even found Tyler, what's his name, and said it was assassination, and there was one country and one person that every hallmark would fit, and that would be Benjamin Netanyahu.
So let's go back to immediately after Kirk is hit and bleeding and obviously dead within seconds. An older gentleman is in the crowd, and he starts screaming, "Shoot me! Shoot me! Shoot me!" And the police arrest him.
No. He said, "I did it. I did it."
He said, "I did it. Shoot me." Hold on. This is unbelievable. So, what would be the best way to make sure that somebody shoots you? It would be in the crowd of an assassination where the police are rushing to the scene, then yell, "I did it, shoot me." And the police in the U.S. are liable to shoot you because they could say you have a gun or whatever.
No, you can go through a stop sign, they'll shoot you.
Yeah. So this guy, did he want to get killed? Did he want to commit suicide that day? What on earth is that?
FUD.
No, but seriously, this guy is there. There's witnesses everywhere that say he's yelling, "Shoot me, I did it." And what's the point? Like, what was that? I mean,
FUD.
This guy's. So this is all part of the script?
Yeah, of course it is. If you can't douse them with brilliance, baffle them with bullshit.
No, but this is unbelievable, Bob, because he's lucky that the cops did not actually shoot him.
Well, maybe the cops were part of it.
Yeah, but come on, you're gonna get all these local cops in on the thing.
We are in absolute neverland, and the strange thing is that the more time that goes by, the fewer answers that we have. A 30-06 not only would have gone through his neck, it would have hit somebody else. That he was crowded in, people all around him. Where's the bullet?
Right, and so now they flipped it to, it was an act of God. Charlie is a hero, that his bone stopped the round from killing somebody who was behind him. Yet we still don't have a bullet. Like, it's worse.
It's worse. There's no autopsy.
This is JFK. So JFK, they switched the body in Maryland at the Naval Hospital and did an autopsy on somebody else's torso. So, yeah, this is JFK.
Okay. How much do you know about J.D. Tippit?
Right. No, I know this is a theory. This is a very real theory that they might have actually flown the Dallas cop's body to do the autopsy on him.
But wait just a minute. What did he have in common with JFK?
They looked very similar. Yeah.
He was a dead ringer.
Yeah.
For JFK.
Yeah, no, that's a very real theory. That's a very real theory because it's clear that the autopsy was actually done on a different brain. It's
right.
You know, it's beyond a shadow of a doubt. It was not done on John F. Kennedy's brain.
Right.
Because they needed to match the autopsy to their story of the magic bullet. And that it was just 3 shots. There weren't 7 shots, which is what actually happened. It was only 3 shots, and there was this magic bullet, and then there was the kill shot that hit him in a different portion of the head than it actually did. I mean, the actual kill shot that killed Kennedy went out the right rear of his brain and took out a quarter of his skull. I mean, like, you know, literally a portion of his brain was gone because it was a hollow point. Yeah.
And he was hit from the front.
He was hit from the front, and it went out the back, not from the back to the front. Yeah, it was totally
opposite. The difference is when Charlie Kirk was killed, there had to have been 300 or 400, 500 video cameras, and we have so much evidence And I'm of mixed emotions. I can buy into the Stu Peterson version that says it was his microphone. And the Ritz version actually has a video and shows a bullet traveling between the guy in the brown shirt and the Charlie Kirk. But clearly, the guy in the brown shirt was the perp, and he's probably in Tel Aviv.
Yeah, I saw the video of the guy in the brown shirt. Okay, that's fascinating. We're going to see how that unfolds. Next topic, and probably the final topic for this month's conversation, the macro. So we got some weird things going on. We got President Xi sending a message to Trump that to make a final trade deal and keep the rare earths flowing, you should make a statement that Taiwan should not be independent, and you do not favor that. Then we have Trump saber rattling against the narco cartels in Venezuela, including targeted, assassinations on speedboats in the Caribbean. We've got, Hegseth and Trump both doing pep rallies with flag, level members of the Army and Navy and Air Force. And then we've got whatever's going on in Europe with drones, Denmark and Poland. What's going on, Bob?
Well, you neglected to mention Qatar.
Qatar, yeah, okay.
There are dozens of fighter aircraft and refueling aircraft sitting in Qatar. And Trump has just come out and said that he's giving Article 5 protection to Qatar. Now, that is unparalleled in U.S. history. And the strange thing is the only reason anybody would want to attack Qatar is because all those aircraft are about to attack them. Do you know what today is in the Jewish religion?
Yes, it's a holiday.
What is the holiday?
Yom Kippur.
Okay. Today ends Yom Kippur. It was yesterday and today. And we could see Yom Kippur 2 immediately. Iran has put their forces on full alert. The French chief of staff has warned French soldiers that serious combat could be initiated immediately. We're in the most precarious position I've ever seen. And the strange thing is, it could be Venezuela. The only reason you would use all those weapons, all the destroyers and cruisers and submarines, would be if you were going to try to kill as many Venezuelans as possible. That is not an anti-drug dealer armada. That is an anti-Madero armada. We got another armada in Qatar, and certainly what appears to be, and I know you disagree with me, a ton of false flags in Europe trying to drag the United States into attacking Russia.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to think of the drones in Poland or Denmark. It's very strange. It could be Russia. It could be a false flag, as you say. But, okay, Vance, from my perspective, has been pro-Putin like you, like pro-Russian for the last decade. And suddenly, in the last 2 weeks, he's done an about face. He's done a 180. And he's now saying, Putin, what the hell are you doing? Your men are getting killed every day. You're not gaining any ground. Why is this war going on? Trump says, we're going to give tomahawks to Ukraine. And Russia counters, well, if you give tomahawks to Ukraine, then we're going to respond forcefully. So there's a lot of tough talk. This situation has changed a lot since August, when we had this meeting in Alaska, which was supposed to be a peace deal, maybe, and then it's fallen apart.
Well, Trump is getting bad advice. If you listen to Kellogg, he clearly is delusional. He has no concept whatsoever of what is happening on the ground. The Russians, actually, I finally realized that they don't care about ground. What they're trying to do is kill as many Ukrainian soldiers as possible. And there is a third-party report that has gone through cemeteries and newspapers and concluded that 1.7 million Ukrainian soldiers have either been killed or deserted. Now, I would absolutely concede a lot of those guys deserted, but I can guarantee the Russians have not lost 1.7 million people.
Okay, well, in my mind, based upon everything I see, and I look at a lot of sources like you do, the war is a stalemate right now. And yeah, there's people dying on both sides, but this is senseless at this point.
I don't think it's a stalemate. I think the fact that you've got drones in Poland, drones in Romania, Russian aircraft claimed to be in Estonian airspace, drones in Denmark. These are all things that you can't verify. And I think the Russians are kicking the shit out of the Ukrainians. I think we're a month or 2 or 3 away from the end of the war, with Russia ending it on their terms. And I see NATO trying to drag the U.S. into the conflict, but Trump is trying to attack Venezuela and Iran at the same time. And the whole Iranian situation is total insanity. If the United States obliterated the the Iranian nuclear system in June, why do we have forces in Qatar right now?
All right, a couple of things. The first point, Russia just got a couple thousand of their troops killed in a drone swarm trying to take a small town in Donbass. That's verified. That's been verified by multiple sources on both sides. I don't see how Russia wins, Bob. You know, Ukraine's gotten very good at this drone warfare, these tactics where they don't mass a large concentration of troops in one place. They use squadrons of 10 or 20 guys and spread them out so they're hard to track, they're hard to hit in groups. You know, the artillery game is not the game anymore. It's a drone game. So I don't understand how Russia can take a large chunk of ground in a drone war without losing a lot of men and equipment in the process. Okay, so that's number one. Number two, the Iran thing is very interesting. And I suspect that some of this stuff with Venezuela and some of these gathering of generals has to do with Iran, actually. That Trump realizes he didn't finish the job last time. And his handlers have said, you need to finish the job. And if you want to get what you want in other areas, you know, in other policy objectives, you need to finish the job in Iran. And Iran is trying to get the S-400 from Russia. They're trying to get modern fighter jets from China. And obviously, the intelligence agencies say, hey, your clock is ticking. If you wait too long, Iran's going to be too tough to take out. You need to do it now. And I think that's what's about to happen, actually.
Well, strange enough, I will agree with your assessment in that that's what Netanyahu believes, and that's what Trump believes. However, I will say, as a guy who controlled hundreds of airstrikes, the 12 days of conflict between Iran and Israel was devastating to Israel. Israel bit off more than it could chew. And should there be a resumption of the war, and all the indications are there will be a resumption of the war, it will destroy Israel.
Okay, so let's say you're right in that thesis that you just laid out. If there's a resumption of the war between Iran and Israel and the U.S., that it will be very bad for Israel. How should you invest in that climate? Like, if that occurs over the next 6 months, where do I want to put my money?
Well, strange enough, what you want to do is bend over and kiss your ass goodbye because of the Samson option.
And what is that?
Oh, come on. You know what that is.
I want you to explain it to us.
Okay. Israel came out with the Samson alternative or Samson option years ago and said, if we ever face an existential danger, we'll just take all these 200 or 300 nukes and we'll nuke everybody, friend and foe.
Okay, well, that doesn't sound like a good option.
Probably not.
Yeah.
I'll go you one better, and that's a little bit of a trick question, but if you'll think hard, you'll get it. There are 90 million people in Iran. There are 9 million people in Israel, but only 7.2 million Jews. How does a country of 7.2 million defeat a country of 90 million from a military perspective?
Well, this has happened before.
No, it hasn't.
The English took India and they conquered India, and they were a far smaller force.
Yeah, but they didn't have nukes back then.
Right, but they used 100,000 troops to control a country of almost 1 billion people.
Yeah, but here's the deal. When Israel attacked Qatar, who was it they were trying to kill?
Hamas?
But who in Hamas?
One of
What
the leaders?
was their position? No,
Okay, who was it?
those were the people Israel was negotiating with. Did I ever talk to you about why you never played chess with a chicken?
Chess with a chicken?
Yeah.
No, you never talked to me about that.
If you play chess with a chicken, you're going to beat the chicken, but it's going to piss the chicken off. So he's going to kick the board over and crap on all the pieces. You do not, one of the fundamental rules of dealing with an enemy, you do not assassinate the people you're negotiating with. And Israel would decapitate Iran in a heartbeat. And if they see that it's going to go nuclear, they will use the nuclear weapon. I believe there's at least a 50% chance that the United States will attack Iran, Iran will attack Israel, and Israel will drop a nuke on Tehran. And they've said they would do it, so I'm not stretching this.
In that scenario, Bob, is there any point in us talking about markets and finance and junior mining stocks, or is that just like
that's why I said you should bend over and kiss your ass goodbye.
Yeah, so forget all these gold and silver. It's not going to be much.
Strange enough, I mean, and I've said it before, and I am serious. If you go back to the summer of 1914, if you go back to late summer of 1939, the people in England, and the people in France, and the people in Russia, and the people in Serbia were well aware that we were on the verge of conflict. I'm going to tell you right now that not 2 people in 100 have any concept of how dangerous this situation is in the world. And some of this stuff just doesn't make any difference. What made Venezuela the enemy of the United States? What made Cuba the enemy of the United States? Whose bright idea was it to attack the largest country in the world that is nuclear armed? Where are these people coming up with this bullshit? Are they all fucking crazy? And Iran could shut down the Gulf of, or the Strait of Hormuz with a Girl Scout troop of 13 girls. Why would we risk the world's economy? Because
okay, but Bob, Strait of Hormuz, this has been discussed a lot, and if Iran does that, that's the end of Iran too. So yeah, it would mess up the world a lot, but the Iranian economy would make 1929, 1930 look like a picnic.
But they've already done that. They are under the worst sanctions in the world. We have destroyed the Iranian economy, and all we've done is made them stronger. And in fact, there were a lot of divisions within Iran prior to the Israeli attack. And all the attack did is made them tougher. Now, one thing that I do know is the effect of aviation in combat. When the United States and Britain attacked Germany during World War II with armadas of literally thousands of airplanes, after the war, they went in to see the effect it had on Germany, and it made the war last longer.
It made the war last longer because it mobilized the people against them too, or
of course. And we just did the same thing against Iran. And China has said they're not going to allow Iran to be destroyed because they would be next.
The air war in Europe in World War II was absolutely brutal, and the Nazi fighter pilots were extremely effective, very good killers, and it took a couple of years for the American Air Force to figure out the tactics to use to actually wear down the German fighter pilots. And it was only like there was only a breakthrough in the air in like late 44, quite frankly. I mean, the Germans were very effective for a long time, and they were outnumbered.
When you enter combat, you spend months of preparation, studying, practicing, thinking, and planning. What is your enemy doing at the same time?
The same thing?
Same thing. Okay. I have been in combat, and when they say that when the first bullet flies, throw out all your plans, it's absolutely correct. The really strange thing is, by far the most effective weapon in Vietnam was the A1, the SPAD. Okay. And the United States Navy and Marine Corps operated those until 1966. And they turned them over to the Vietnamese. And the Air Force went out to Litchfield Park in Arizona and said, well, you guys aren't using these. Why don't we use them? They use them in northern Laos and in southern North Vietnam to great effect. We were flying airplanes that were not very good at close air support, and we gave away the airplanes that could carry more than the weight of the aircraft. So the military always screws stuff up, and you're absolutely correct. The British went in with daylight bombing, and they got the shit kicked out of them. And they went to the U.S. Army Air Force, Army Air Corps, and said, you don't want to do daylight bombing. And all the Air Force generals said, no, we can do it. So they got shit kicked out of them for a couple of years. They finally said, this daylight bombing bullshit. I flew 800 missions, okay? Guys in flying the bombers, B-17s, B-25s. In Europe, flew 30. And the number of them who actually survived that was very small.
Oh, the B-17s were major targets of the German fighter pilots.
Yeah.
But the B-17 won the war for us in the end, quite frankly,
Now, who killed 80% of the Germans?
Who killed 80%? The Soviets?
Yeah. Soviets won that war. We didn't win that war.
Well, the B-17 sure helped. It took a toll on the Nazis, in the final months of the war, and especially when they no longer really had an air force. I mean, it was just a free fire zone, right?
To the extent that, to give the Soviets credit and to give the Germans credit, that was a horrendous war.
Yeah.
I saw some of it in Vietnam, but spending a year in aerial combat, Vietnam was no big deal. But during World War II, they could only stay in combat for 6 weeks, and they would lose 25% of their pilots. The guys in Guadalcanal, the guys in Midway, those were incredible battles.
All right, Bob. Let's leave it on that note, and maybe light a candle for some peace and optimism. But it does feel like something bad is about to happen, quite frankly. So we will do this again next month. Thank you for your time.
Maybe we'll do next month. Check back with me next month.
All right.
Okay, my friend.
All right. Bye. Cheers.
Good deal. Bye.